Okay, today we're diving into a really fascinating framework for building wealth, and we're backing it up with some incredibly powerful real world data. So, to set the stage here, I want you to picture this ambitious young guy. Let's just call him Jake. Now, Jake is hustling, right? He's juggling his classes, working a grind at a local cafe, and he's just desperately trying to figure out how to actually build a successful future. Well, one day at work, he finally worked up the nerve to ask an older, very wealthy looking customer in a sharp suit for a little advice. But unfortunately for Jake, instead of finding a mentor, he runs into a guy we'll just call Mr. Grumpy. And Mr. Grumpy did not hold back. He literally snapped that the younger generation is lazy, doesn't know the first thing about hard work, is full of excuses, and just wants everything handed to them on a silver platter. Ouch, right? Look, if you're young and you were out there grinding, trying to build something from scratch, hearing that kind of thing is incredibly frustrating. It completely brushes off the intense hustle required just to survive, let alone thrive in today's world. It really validates that deep frustration so many young people feel when older generations just dismiss their efforts entirely. The thing is, this outdated, grumpy mindset completely clashes with modern reality. I mean, yes, obviously previous generations worked hard, but the world is just drastically more complex now. The path to success, it's absolutely not as straightforward as just grabbing a secure job right out of school and riding it to a sweet pension anymore. Young people today are navigating a totally different, wild economic landscape. And honestly, they need genuine, actionable guidance, not condescension. Luckily, someone else overheard this whole interaction and actually sat down with Jake to give him a real roadmap. We're going to break down that exact advice: the modern wealth challenge, mastering high income skills, harnessing compound interest, taking calculated risks, lifelong learning, and building a wealthy network.
Number one, the Modern Wealth Challenge.
So, look, if you are in your 20s and you find yourself endlessly scrolling past teenagers with Lamborghinis on social media, it is so easy to feel like you're falling behind. But let's look at the actual timeline of your life. For your first 10 years, you're basically just a kid having mindless fun. The next 10 years, you are stuck sitting in a classroom, pretty much forced to memorize completely useless info like Pythagoras' theorem instead of actually learning financial literacy. So you really only step into the real world in your 20s. The school system literally did not prepare you for wealth creation at all. So you know what? You are honestly just getting started. Give yourself a little grace here. Which brings us to principle number 2: master high income skills. You see, a whole lot of people want to rush out and just start a business immediately. But doing that without the right foundational skills, it's literally like trying to chop down a giant tree with a completely blunt axe. Instead, you need to sharpen that axe. You do this by obsessing over modern high-income skills. We're talking things like video editing, copywriting, high-ticket closing, or software development. Now, sure, the exact value of these skills will fluctuate a bit based on supply and demand, but if you truly master them, you become absolutely undeniably valuable to the marketplace. And here is the crazy part: mastering just one of these skills can comfortably put you in a position to be pulling in $10,000 a month within just a year or so. But what the sources really highlight here is that the money isn't even the most crucial part. Having a highly sought-after skill physically opens doors. It puts you in the exact same room as incredibly successful people. You get to interact with them, soak up their knowledge, and get VIP access to valuable information that other people are out there paying thousands of dollars for. Moving right along to principle number 3: harness compound interest. Okay, so once you actually start making some money, you have to stop messing with it. Think of your money like a fresh stack of cookies. The more you handle them, trade them, and constantly move them around, the more they just crumble away into nothing. The data backing this up is wild. Take a look at Warren Buffett. The guy has a staggering net worth of $137 billion. But get this, 99% of that fortune was generated after his 50th birthday. Why? Because he locked his assets away and let the quiet, heavy lifting of compound interest do its magic over decades. So the real strategy here is getting your money into solid investments early instead of blowing it all on flashy sports cars just to impress random people on the internet. For instance, if we look at the stock market, the S&P 500 index fund has historically delivered an average annual return of 10.98% over the last decade. That right there is the pure power of keeping your funds locked in long-term stable investments. And the math proves that you do not need to be rich to get started. Seriously, if you commit to investing just $250 a month, making it a totally automatic, non-negotiable percentage of your income, at a 10% average return, you would be sitting on a mountain of over $1.5 million in 40 years. It's really not about getting rich quick, it's about undeniable math and rock-solid consistency.
To put this into perspective, here is a super fun, real-world experiment that perfectly proves the point. Someone set up an app to auto-invest just £5 a day. That is literally the cost of your daily Starbucks coffee. Well, in just 10 months, that tiny, barely noticeable daily habit generated £164 in pure profit. That represents an incredibly impressive 11.14% return rate. It completely proves that even the absolute smallest amounts, when you just leave them alone, will begin to rapidly multiply.
All right, let's hit principle number 4. Take calculated risks. You know, the biggest psychological hurdle for most people isn't actually the fear of failure itself. It's the paralyzing fear of how others will judge them if they fail. But listen, your strategy should be dictated by your age. Older investors, yeah, they need super safe bonds to protect their wealth because they simply don't have decades to recover if the market crashes. But if you're young, your absolute undeniable advantage is time. You can totally afford to take those calculated risks. Start that business, take the leap, and treat any failure simply as data collection and testing. That takes us to principle number 5. Become a lifelong learner. Our totally broken traditional education model basically tells us that learning is officially done by our early 20s. But if you stop there, you become a massive victim of the Dunning-Kruger effect. That's where a tiny bit of knowledge gives you this massive unearned confidence, trapping you right at the peak of Mount Stupid. Escaping this kind of arrogance means waking up to the fact that building wealth isn't just about getting lucky. It's a highly learnable skill, and one that requires real humility and a never-ending process of active study. Think of your brain exactly like a computer or a smartphone. You have to actively give it regular software updates. If you don't continually update your brain with current financial news and the latest technological trends, your outdated knowledge acts almost like a virus that will eventually cause you to just break down. Just as an example, constantly learning and updating is exactly what allowed savvy investors to spot the massive, life-changing potential of crypto way back in 2019, long before the rest of the world even caught on. And finally, our last step, principle number 6, build a wealthy network. Look, if you truly want to break the poverty cycle and become the very first millionaire in your family, you have to radically change your environment, period. And this is actually backed by a truly fascinating 2024 study from the National Bureau of Economic Research. It proved that when you have friends who actually understand money, they guide you. They explain investing in plain English, which naturally eases your fears, and it dramatically improves your own financial habits and your chances of actually participating in the stock market. Now, don't worry, this doesn't mean you have to be cold and ditch all your old, loyal friends. Not at all. It just simply means you need to be highly intentional about your environment moving forward. Join clubs, attend local events, or even just go work from cafes where successful people spend their time. Just intentionally place yourself in environments where you can naturally elevate your circle of influence and bump into people who will actually help guide your big ambitions. As we wrap this up, I really want to leave you with a crucial reminder. Despite what all the Mr. Grumpies of the world might grumble about your generation, remember this absolute truth. Your brains, your fresh ideas, and your relentless drive are exactly what keep this world moving forward. You are the backbone. You are the future leaders. The world is out there waiting for its future leaders to step up. So the ball is in your court. Take these 5 principles, completely ignore the outdated criticisms, sharpen your axe, and ask yourself right now, how will you use your time today to build tomorrow's wealth?